So for this lesson, you're going to be graphing linear equations. You have done this a little bit. I believe we did it at the end of last year for a little bit. I remember making you graph. Yeah, Kim remembers. All right. So somebody tell me what the definition of a linear equation is.
An equation whose graph is a line.
Yes. Linear equations. Eventually you guys will get to the point where you can look at an equation and know right away whether it's a line or not a line. See the word linear? It has the word line in it. So that's what you're doing. You're graphing equations that form a line. The points on the line are considered solutions. So anywhere along this line, anything on that line is a solution to the equation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. If it's way over here, that's not a solution. Okay? The way you can solve is you take this equation and you plug in values for x and see what you get for y. So the x values you get to choose, the y values you solve for. Okay, we have done some of this, just reminding you. Once you have those two values, then you have what the is called the point, the coordinate on the graph. And then you can graph those coordinates. Good? Any questions? That's a review, so let's look at example 1. Put this in your journals. For this, you will need graph paper, so go ahead and get graph paper. You can cut it and glue it. There's glue right here. I'd get the smaller ones that you can cut into pieces and glue in your journals. All right, so they give you the equation y equals negative 2x plus 1. So what we're going to do is make a table and then graph this. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my table. And the way they drew their table, I don't actually like doing it that way. I like doing it this way. So you may choose whichever way you like it. I prefer to go this direction. So my x values, it's really good when you're choosing your values to choose one number that's negative, 0 usually, and then one number that's positive. So in this case, we can choose negative 1, 0, and then just any positive numbers too. Okay, so I've chosen my x's. I'm going to plug them into where the x is 3 different times and solve. So for the first one, I'm going to say negative 2 times, I plug in my negative 1, plus 1. So what's negative 2 times negative 1? Should be able to do it in your head. 2 times 1 is? Negative times a negative is a? So it's positive 2 plus 1, which would be? 3. So when I plug in a negative 1, I get a 3. Okay. Now let's do it again. Negative 2 times, and here's my x. I plug in a 0 here, and then I'm adding 1 at the end. What is negative 2 times 0? Negative 2 times 0. 0. Any number times 0 is 0. Then I add 1, so my answer is 1. So I put the 1 there. Now my last one I have equals negative 2 times, I plug in a 2 where the x is. What's negative 2 times positive 2?
Negative 1. Oh,
no.
Wait, sorry, my bad.
Negative 2 is negative 4 plus 1, which would be?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. So this would be negative 3. Good? Any questions on how we did that? I just took each one of these, plugged them in for my x value, and solved to get my new y values. So to write these as coordinates now, remember a coordinate you write like this, x comma y.
Oh yeah.
So for this first, I'm going to have negative 1 comma 3. For the next one, I'm going to have 0 comma 1. For the last one, I have 2 comma negative 3. Any questions? So now we're going to graph those 3 points. All right, so now we have those 3 points. You have them written down, so I'm going to turn the page here, and we're going to graph these. So get your graph. And our 3 points, I'm going to do them in red. We're -1, 3, 0, 1, and 2, -3, correct? Yes? Were those our 3 points? I don't feel like y'all are paying attention. Yes? Were these our 3 points?
Ma'am.
Thank you. So how do we draw, or how do we graph 1, 3? We start at 0, 0, and which way am I going to go?
Up, down. Oh.
To right, to left.
Okay, this is X, this is Y. This is X, this is Y. If I start at 0, 0, which is in the middle, which way of this graph is positive and negative on the X line? If I go this way, it's what?
Negative.
It's a negative. If I go this way, it's a positive. Okay, what about this graph going up and down? If I go up, it's what?
Positive.
Positive. And if I go down, it's
Negative.
negative. So now, if these are all X's and these are all Y's, if it's a negative, you're going to go to the left. If it's a positive, you're going to go to the right. Put this in your journals.
Okay.
For the Y's, if it's going up, it's a positive. If it's going down, it's a negative. All right, let's start over on this. Let me go grab a picture. Okay, so we're going to graph those points. Let's try this again. What are my 3 points? Shh. -1, 3 is my first one. So I'm going to start at the middle, and I go left or right first.
You go
Left 1,
left 1.
and then up or down.
You go up.
It's positive, so you go up. So there's my first point. My next point is at 0, 1. So, I start at 0, left or right, or nowhere?
No.
It's 0, so I don't go anywhere. Now do I go up or down? Up 1. So there's the next point. And my last point is at 2, -3. Okay? So starting at 0, left or right?
Oh.
Left or right? I'm looking at the 2.
Right, you go to right.
To the right, and then
Down
up or
3.
down? Down 3. Okay, so now I have graphed my 3 points. Okay, and then draw a line through these 3 points. I can't draw real straight on this thing, so just do the best you can. Should be a straight line if I had a ruler, but I don't. Oh wait, I probably have a, can I do a shape? Nope.
We do this on a separate graph, we do this on a separate graph.
Yes.
Then, okay.
Okay, let me do this.
Okay, so you should have been graphing while I was graphing. Okay, any questions on how we did that?
Nope.
I hope not, because you're doing this for your IXL forever.
Forever.
Well, if y'all don't remember the rules, yeah, you'll be doing it forever.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is the forward?
Okay, no, I'm still lecturing.
They're 97.
Okay, the next key idea you should have already written in your journals talks about graphing a horizontal line. When you get the equation y equals a, in this case it'll say y equals like 2. It's going to be a horizontal line. You see it doesn't have anything that says something x.
Yeah.
What's the slope-intercept form, you remember? Y equals x plus b. Okay? If it's missing the x, it's a horizontal line. Okay? So if you see that it says y equals a, you're going to graph on here, and it's going to be a horizontal line. In this case, it was, see how this is a positive 2?
Yeah.
So I'd go up to 2 and draw a horizontal line. Okay, we're going to do one. So we have y equals -3. This is example 2. Is it time to go? Okay, let's finish this example real quick. Okay, so you see how we're missing the x? There's no x, it's just -3.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go down to -3, 1, 2, 3, on the y line, and it's a horizontal line right here.
That's how you're supposed to do?
That's all you have to do
Oh.
when you're graphing it. See how there's no x information in here, it's just y equals a number.
Oh.
Okay.
So you go down to, or up, whatever that number is, on the y line, and then do a horizontal line.
Okay.
All right, now we're going to go through the on your own questions. And for each of these, you need to graph, so get 4 little graphs. Now, I would prefer you graph them all on separate graphs, but for demonstration purposes, I probably will graph them all on one. So the first one, on your own number 1, you have y equals 3x. So you're going to create your table. And then we're going to choose 3 points. And again, it's good to pick one negative number, one 0, and then one positive number. It doesn't really matter what. And you plug those in for x. So y equals 3 times -1, which is a -3. So -3 is what y is worth here. Y equals 3 times 0, which is 0. So this is 0. And the last one, y equals 3 times 2, which is 6. So I'm going to graph these 3 points. Remember, this is a point, this is a point, this is a point. So I would write them as -1, comma -3, 0, comma 0, and 2, comma 6. And I'm going to graph these. So my first one's at -1, -3, so I go back 1, down 3, and put a dot. The next one's at 0, 0. The last one is at 2, 6, so I over 2, up 6. So way up there. And then the last thing you do is connect those with a line. Obviously, I can't draw a super straight line here, but I'll do my best. Well, not terrible. All right. Y equals 3x has now been graphed. If at any point during this demonstration you need to pause the video, please do so. All right, on your own number 2, we have y equals -1/2 x plus 2. Make your table. X and y, -1, 0, 2. And you can do 1 here as well if you want to. It doesn't really matter. All right, so y equals -1/2 times -1 plus 2. So all of that equals, negative times a negative is a positive, 1/2, and then plus 2, so your answer is 2 and 1/2. So this is 2 1/2. Next one is negative 1/2 times 0 plus 2. Should just be, whoops, not 0, 2. And the last one, negative 1/2 times 1 plus 2. And that's going to be 1 1/2. So my 3 points are negative 1, 2 1/2, 0, 2, and then my last point is 1 and then 1 1/2. So let's graph these. So negative 1 means I go back 1 and then up 2 1/2. So 1, 2, and then 1/2 would be right there between those two. My next one is at 0, 2. And the last one's at 1 and 1 1/2. So you can see this line it's not super steep. All right, next unknown. Number 3. Y equals pi. Ooh, they're trying to mess with you here. All right, so when you look at this one, what I want you to notice is there's no x. It's not y equals pi times x. So remember what we did earlier when it's y equals a number, any number, say y equals 2, it's called a horizontal line. So all you have to do for this equation is get your graph. And then you would normally label each one of these lines so that I know what we're going by. So for here, this would be 1 pi, and you just do 1 pi, and then 2 pi, and 3 pi for each line. It's hard to tell on this computer screen. And then you notice that's a positive number, so you know it's going to be a horizontal line at 1 pi. So you just draw a horizontal line right here. And that's how you graph that. If it had been a number, you would go up to 2 and graph that horizontal line as well. So that's number 3. Number 4, we have y equals negative 1.5. Aha! Do we have an x? So again, we're going to be drawing a horizontal line. So in this case, you notice that it's a negative number, negative 1.5. So I'm going to go down 1 and then down 1/2. And then, if it helps, put a little dot there. And then you just draw a horizontal line. If I could draw straight, that would help. All the way across. And now you have graphed number 4. All right, so let's look at, that's it. No more examples. You can stop there. So when you do your on your own, you only have to do numbers 1 through 4. Okay, the last thing you need to do is IXL Y1. This is not due till Monday, so you do have time. Good luck.